All right. Yeah.
We fucking fired up. But there's this scientist. He's a climate scientist, right? And he's kind of been popping off online. You like this guy?
No.
So he's doing he has all these photo shoots where he's just like he's fucking cross-legged and his whole deal.
Well, because the meditating is the only thing that doesn't give him anxiety about the climate.
Right. And the articles are writing about this guy kind of like he's a hero, right? Mm-hmm. But to the point of what has been like kind of the thread of the last few things we were saying, it's like this was maybe the worst life available to a guy is to be this fucking dweeb.
Well, he has a mental illness. This is just another way that we're...
Yeah, it is a mental illness. And they're talking about this guy like he's amazing. But it's pretty hilarious the way that this article shakes down. Climate scientist Peter Kalmus visits a fossil fuel-free homestead in Maine, looking not for solutions for climate change, but a better way to survive and make peace with his grief. Because this guy's just like constantly grief-stricken, right?
He has anxiety about the future, even though he will be fine. He's got a general anxiety about like later generations.
Imagine listening to this guy and being like, this is a good way to live your life. He's like, what do you do? Well, it's like, well, I have to meditate 2 hours a day so I don't
cry the rest of it. Over what? I go, it's just the climate. You go, it's pretty nice outside though for winter.
I know.
It's pretty nice though. And it wasn't like the summer was crazy hot.
Well, this is what he's living like. Off to the side, Peter Kalmus sits alone. His eyes are closed. His toes are tucked beneath his body. He's catching an occasional side eye from onlookers. When I'm meditating, I don't feel anxious, he says, explaining that he strives for 2 hours of meditation a day to keep his client anxiety at bay. Otherwise, it's completely overwhelming. And you go, he meditates 2 hours. Who do you think, and honestly, if you do think this is like a problem, you go, who do you think is actually more likely to solve the problem? The guy meditating 2 hours a day so he could get through the day, or like someone like Elon Musk
he's just doing stuff and maybe some of them don't work, but he's still trying shit.
Well, this guy meditates every day for 2 hours, and then the other 2 hours he stops traffic from people.
Yeah, he is the Just Stop Oil dude.
He is. He does all this stuff, right? So this guy's like, he's not going to help solve the problem at all if he does think it's a problem. And it's like, the truth is, at some point, like what is the point of like living like this? And they're sort of telling people like it's an aspirational story to be like this hero.
Go live in probably getting Maine.
He sounds like he's married and has a family, but he is probably getting tons of fucking gross vegan pussy. Ugh. Did you see Peter's new thing?
Which one?
Peter released a video today or yesterday being like, this is your breakfast.
Oh yeah.
And it showed the eggs and it goes,
yeah.
And then it shows the bacon and it shows the milk and it goes moo.
That doesn't make sense though with the eggs thing, because those, like, and again, I'm ignorant and I didn't know this till fairly recently, at least the last 10 years. Be like, eggs do not become chickens.
What?
Eggs don't become chickens.
What do they become?
Nothing. They have to be fertilized. If they're unfertilized, you're not like snatching it away from becoming a chicken. Like,
well, they have to sit on them.
No, they just they have to be fertilized by a hen, I guess. Or
how do they fertilize an egg then?
Just like jizz. It's like,
but how does it get inside the egg?
I have no idea. That's out of my pay grade. But
don't they just put the eggs there and sit on them and they become chickens?
No, they have to be fertilized.
They have to jizz on the egg.
So if there's not a rooster? Yeah. Or a rooster, sorry. If there's not a rooster around, then they're just eggs. They're just
so they lay eggs even without a rooster banging them?
Correct, yeah. And they would not become chickens. Like, it's not just like, we're not snatching them away and then like eating them before they would become chickens.
How does the jizz get in the egg? It doesn't make sense.
Well, I don't know.
Because if you jizzed on the egg, it wouldn't see what seeps into the egg.
They rub their cloacas together.
They rub their cloacas together, Johnny Glover. There you go.
What happens?
To fertilize, they rub their cloacas together, and then that's the transfer, and then the egg gets fertilized. But that's before the egg.
Oh, so they kind of do a thing first, and then the
so these eggs already weren't fertilized.
Right. Yeah.
So which means they won't become chickens.
Correct.
Well, also funny is they had to buy all this shit to make this breakfast to do their video.
Yeah. They're just crying the whole time.
Many of us avoid thinking too deeply about the worst scenarios of climate change. He is fixated on them. A hero. Kalmus, 49, thinks civilization is on the path to break down. The Biden administration is clueless on climate, and then he might get fired from his job at NASA if he's arrested a third time for protesting what he views as downright madness. And none of this article is going to be like, maybe he should stop, blocking people on their way to places.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, I feel there is obviously one part of me where you're like, what if these guys are right? You know, like what if like literally, because they're so I don't think so, but they're just such doom and gloomers where they're like, yeah, the world is gonna end in 50 years.
We're dead.
We're fucking dead.
50 years. This guy thinks it's like a year and a half.
Or whatever, unless we do like the craziest rash shit, and then kind of every normal person's like, well, we all know we're not doing that. So I guess
I like when they just post all the predictions of every year that it was going to die before this. But same as when they have one from 10 years ago that was really funny, where it says in 10 years we're going to be having sex with robots, and the guy posted it being like, 1 year left, let's go. Many of us avoid, and then they go, people don't want to talk about this stuff at parties, so he feels weird and lonely. I'm sure at his parties they want to talk about this stuff. I'm sure this guy's fucking not going to normal parties anymore.
No.
The search brought him to an unusual community called the Possibility Alliance, a homestead where a small group of people is trying to figure out how to live in a world headed for breakdown. That's the worst thing that you want to do.
Talking about being Amish? Isn't this just being Amish?
Of course it is. And also, it's the worst thing that you want to do. And they also talked about for a little bit where the guy was thinking about being a prepper and having his bunker, but like he can't because he's so politically on the other side.
Yeah.
That line's...
It's a blurry line there.
It's a blurry line. If he starts being a prepper, people are going to start thinking that he's a conservative potentially, right?
Wouldn't want that.
I know. But a homestead is where a small group of people and its leaders eschew capitalism, grow much of their own food, and live without electricity. They've decided to live their lives to protest, living off the land as possible, and preparing the community for ecological disaster to host climate refugees. So they hate capitalism.
Climate refugees?
They want climate refugees. So they're going to have a farm, and they're going to be able to
But that's like, so when like some island gets flooded and all those people have to move out of there, and then they come to America as climate refugees, they're like, come on in.
This guy's going to take a couple of them.
Okay. That's good.
A 2022 poll found almost 2/3 of Americans say that they've been affected by extreme weather, and they believe it was at least partially due to climate change. 27% of Americans are very worried about climate change.
How many 2/3 of Americans have been affected by extreme weather?
They're saying 2/3. And by the way,
have you ever been affected by extreme weather?
No, of course not.
Have you ever been affected by extreme weather?
And if you have anxiety about it, it's
does that count as like,
articles like this?
But like, does it count like you're like my flight got canceled because of the rain?
This is the type of...
Probably, right?
Maybe. I'll tell you the effect he's had. Summer 2020, he was sick. He sickened himself hiking in the California heat wave, and then watched a wildfire burn a few miles from his California home, spewing smoke that left his voice raspy. So this guy, there's like a wildfire, and he's going hiking in the California sun in July.
Yeah, you're like, that. I'm pretty sure California's been pretty hot for a while.
But yeah, it's crazy being like, listen to this shit that I've been going to. It's like when I was hiking through the desert in July, and you go, well, maybe don't hike through the desert in July.
And then there was a wildfire, and I walked towards it. Right,
yeah, the smoke was bad. It was like, yeah, regardless of climate change,
wildfires aren't new.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And
they're not wild, and they're not new.
It's also funny him just having this like. Is one of the things that you might know about this guy is he doesn't like capitalism. You're like, no way. But the worst thing that you could do is, if you're like this, is find a bunch of other psychos like yourself to essentially... yeah,
it's a cult. It's a commune.
Yeah, and then
That's what they all do.
Yeah.
The question is he on the top and he's getting all the sniz?
I don't think he is, because he says he's a family and he makes his family...
Yeah, so is fucking David Koresh, pal.
Yeah,
someone's getting the sniz.
Someone's getting the sniz for sure, because it's mostly girls in this thing. It's kind of like...
Exactly.
It's kind of like taking
climate
the drama class
crisis.
and is going to be in there.
Climate anxiety, that's chick written all over it.
That's true. He opened up the table.
Harry Bush,
He'd been procrastinating for months on finishing the research he was running. So this guy, he wanted to do some research, but he got sidetracked with protesting and crying and meditating.
That's what happens, you know?
He felt he was letting the planet down because he hasn't been able to do his research. Anyone want to rub Peter's shoulders as he writes? He's in the set, so you know what this guy's at the thing. He's making his family. It talks about how he makes his 2 kids. So it's a crappy son to be, or it's just like you're born into this family where it's like, get your stuff. The only thing he does, he says, he's take the train and the bus to like protest and then block the city, and then he brings his kids to some place to watch him dad get arrested. And then now he goes to these like weirdo meetings where they essentially play folk music, and he gives speeches where people give him back massages. So it's a real fucking...
Does he get a back massage after, or... I wonder... Do you get it like while you're doing the speech?
He's giving the speech. He's like, okay, the back massager, bring it in. They start rubbing his shoulders, and he goes, we're dude. It's over. But guys, everyone snaps. And then, but the reason I think it's so funny is they write all these articles being like, listen how great this guy is. He just fucking meditates 5 hours a day. He hasn't been able to go to his work. He thinks he might get fired because he hasn't been able to do research for 2 months because he's too worried. Pretty sick, right?
I mean, good on NASA for
What a hero.
keeping this hero employed.
All it takes to be a hero to this kind of like these super political ideologues is just to be like, we're fucked.
Yeah, we're fucked.
And everyone's like, you are great.
Yeah.
You're spreading the good word, my friend. You go, what's the good word? That we're dead.
Well, it's unverifiable. It's an unverifiable claim. It's a crazy unverifiable claim.
I know.
You go, yeah, we're dead. And you go, well, when are we going to find out? I don't know. 500 years.